for your questions, please. So shall we start with Jennifer? Your questions for Jennifer, please. Yes?
So you said that in 2008, Cuba, I think it was 2008, Cuba signed 2 UN agreements, and after that it was then legal to have mobile phones and access to the internet. Did that have any sort of wider societal changes that benefited people in terms of their freedom of expression? The UN agreements
No, they were signed, but the government hadn't ratified them, so they hadn't actually gone into effect. They were just signed by Cuba.
Okay. Other questions? Yes?
Why was the UN agreements not ratified?
Because they didn't want to, I guess.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
It goes on about the revolution. The revolution is now about 50, 60 years old. What is the impact on people? Are they just getting bored with the fact that it's the revolution? It's now status quo, isn't it, the revolution?
Yeah, from what I saw in the research, most people, except for those who want to escape Cuba, are really unified around the idea of the revolution, and basically that's their government now. Like, before it was the revolution something new, and now it's just how things are, if that makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you think there's anything different about the way the government treats journalism that makes Cuba seem sort of the least oppressive and brutalist of the communist countries?
I think just their arbitrary arrest is kind of random. They tend to just let people go when they're asked to, so I don't think, I mean, being arbitrarily arrested is oppressive, but if someone just asks for your release and you get released, that's less oppressive.
Any other questions? Yes?
Since Raul Castro took over from his brother Fidel, has there been any more efforts to make reforms in Cuba?
There have been efforts. I didn't look too much into them. I focused more on Castro and the revolution.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, questions for Daniel, please? Yes?
Do you think that the Turkish rule in northern Cyprus will have an impact on press freedom like over time? I know you mentioned it not that much now, but over a period of time, do you think that will begin to influence the way they operate?
What, like the southern?
No, like how it will influence press freedom in the northern.
Yeah, it already like, started, I think, like, but yeah, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Daniel? Yes?
Has there been any opposition to the northern control in Cyprus?
I haven't looked at it, no, yeah, I focused on like, the journalism side of it, actually.
Okay. Any other questions?
To be honest, that Greeks are pretty fed up about it, and there's British troops based there all the time in a buffer zone to stop the two communities clashing.
Okay.
Do you think that zone will increase because of the Turkish people being repressive?
Between me?
Yes.
I don't think so, no. I mean, it depends on what the Turkish government is. It's very much a Turkish-controlled part of the island, and it depends what's happening on mainland Turkey, how much repression will be on in northern Cyprus.
No, what I meant was, do you think, because our troops are over in Cyprus, do you think they will be on defensive?
They're just acting as a buffer zone. They're not really fighting either side, just keeping them apart, really.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Daniel? No? Questions for Phoebe, please? Yes?
Because Eritrea is such a small country, I'm not sure what the population is, but geographically it's very small. I think that makes a difference in how significant it is that it only has very few media outlets.
Good question. I don't know, I mean, does it really make a difference if there's so many little people? I mean, I just think there's not many media outlets because of the government. They want to have such a strict control of the regime that they have inherited. They don't really want to have numerous private outlets compared to state, because then they give different views and perhaps spark another uprising, whether it be against Ethiopia or against their own government. I think it does.
Any other questions for Phoebe? Yes?
Do you think that there'll be like a rise in independent media outlets anytime soon? Do you think
No.
there'll be more?
No, I don't think there's much hope for it. At the moment, it would be nice if, I think the government needs to change first before any independent outlets are allowed in. That would be nice.
How long's there only been like one government in Eritrea?
Since the Ethiopian, when was it, 1994? I can't really remember. But after they beat Ethiopia and gained independence, they then had that presidential come in, which is one government. And you can't actually vote for anyone else, so it's a bit of a tricky situation.
Okay, any
I
other
have one more
questions?
question.
Yes.
Considering this is the first time I've heard about this country, considering so many foreign people who investigate Eritrea's journalism, is the reason why it's not known about much because so many foreign journalists have left the country?
Actually, I'd say I think we don't know about it, because do you remember that lecture we had in the news today when they discussed the models of journalism and what would be important to us and everything? The further it is away and the less it has to do with our own government and our people, the less we know about it. But there's been other revolutions in the past that we haven't heard about. I think it was Bulgaria, was it? Into the Bean, I can never remember. It was in, there was a massacre in the 1990s. And we didn't hear about it because it didn't affect our government. I think it's just another situation like that. We should have heard about it, we just don't. I'd never heard of Eritrea until I did my PowerPoint.
Any other questions? No? Now questions for William, please. Any questions for
I
William?
have one small question. Has there been any concerted effort by the government to tackle industrial relations? I'm referring to the coffee incident and the other thing in relation to the Maasai tribe.
Not at all. If it doesn't interest them, they often won't interfere with those relations that provides coffee industries their main economic export, and it gives them the most money. So as long as, more often than not, if it doesn't concern the government and they're still pumping money through and helping them, well, become more stable financially, then it won't really matter.
Yes?
You mentioned the KBC, which is like Kenya's equivalent of the BBC, more or less. How good is that public station at being neutral, at being unbiased, if it can be compared to the BBC?
Well, it's a TV show, not TV show, TV channel, and as far as it goes for being unbiased, it's more a way, because it's state funded, it's more a way that the president can come onto TV and give his talks. The reason I made a link to BBC is purely because it does have some informative programmes like news and stuff, but at the moment with the growing restrictions, previously it was quite independent, but with growing restrictions it might not be anymore. Just at the moment Kenya's evolving in their media.
Okay. Yes?
You mentioned at the end your opinion, so do you think the government assassinated the 4 journalists that you mentioned in the case studies?
I believe, I can't pronounce his name, but the chap who got decapitated in the woods, that was due to high-ranking police officials, and I personally believe there must have been a government hand in it, because both suspects who actually pretty much almost confessed got let off scot-free, no trial, nothing. So I think it's hard to say, purely because like on the Reporters Without Borders thing, it says there's 0 killed, 0 whatever, but there are calls for people to go in and investigate it.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. A round of applause for the presenters. Please don't forget